Alright guys, I want to make a video right here explaining Solidity Functions from here. Just kind of how to write them out and a brief overview about functions. So first thing I want to do from here is I'm going to declare a uint, and let's make this public. We'll call it A, and we'll say, let's just say 87 right now, okay? Cool. Now we're going to come back to this in a second. Obviously this isn't the function from here. This is just a variable that we're going to use with our function, okay? Now also don't get confused here. I call this contract functions. This whole thing is not a function. This whole thing is a contract. We're going to write the function out right about here in a second, okay? So in Solidity, everything is statically typed here. So if I want to declare a function, I have to say function, right? So function. Just like above here with uint here, the first thing I'm going to do is say what I want to create from here. Then from here, let's give it a name here. Let's say testing1, and then we're going to set parentheses. Now, parentheses are when we can take in arguments or parameters. This is pretty standard if you ever worked with, even like a C++ or like a JavaScript before. You've probably seen this before. And we'll talk a little bit about this more later on here, but the point of this video is not about arguments or parameters. The point is just about functions. Now, from here, I had to give it a view type. Let's keep it simple right now. Let's make it public. And then we're just going to say, let's do A++. And this is a shorthand, of course, for A plus 1. So when I call this method from here, when I call this function, this is going to increase this number by 1. It's going to change the state of the blockchain basically forever. Now, of course, this is just testing right now. This isn't the real Ethereum blockchain. This is just testing on a virtual machine. All right. If you're a little confused about that, I make a different video about the Remix IDE. Be sure to check that out. But anyways, from here, we have our contract. This is on autocompile. Whoops, this is on autocompile. So it's already compiled from here. Now let's go ahead, and that's from before. I'm going to deploy this here, and we can see it did deployed successfully. And now if we go down to our function from here, we have our number 87. And when we call this function from here, it's going to increase that number, right? Pretty simple. Now what I can do from here, another thing that we can do with functions is call a return type. So to call a return type here, we're going to say returns, and we're going to set 2 more parentheses. Now be careful, it's not return, it's returns with an S. And we're going to return a type of uint, okay? Now instead of just adding A here, let's also return A. All right, I'm going to save this from here, and let's go ahead and trash the old contract. Let's deploy the new contract from here. We're going to drop this down here, and now if I have 80, it's going to be 87. If I call this function now, we don't see it right here, but if I go into my event logs, and I go to the very bottom one, we're going to see the new number from there, right? Same deal. If I do that again, drop that down, it's returning the new number. If I get rid of that and return to what it was before, whoops, get rid of that, save, and delete that one, deploy, and I call the function. Again, we're not returning anything now here. I go into logs here. We don't have that number in the log. So that might be important for returning information. Or if you want to call this function from another function, that might be important for you, okay? Let's go ahead and bring that. I'll tell you what, let's leave it like that for right now here. Let's change this up a little bit here. Let's make this to accept some arguments from here. So instead of returning a variable here, let's say uint A, or let's call it num1 just for simplicity from here. So now if I want to call this function from here, I have to give it some type of value. And what I'll do is I'll say num1, and why don't we say times, whoops, num1 times 2, and why don't we say return. So we're returning whatever number we give it times 2. Now, of course, we have to bring back the returns keyword. And what do we want to return? We want to return a uint from here. All right. So this is how we take in arguments with the function. Now, I do have a little bit of a warning here. This warning wouldn't necessarily break the code here, but whenever you're deploying stuff to the blockchain, you want to think about gas fees. And since this isn't changing anything within the blockchain, we're not changing any type of numbers that are stored within this contract, it wants to restrict the mutability to pure. So I can add that pure keyword right there. Okay. Save, and let's go down to here and get rid of the old one here. I'm going to deploy this contract. So now since I'm taking in, and I'll tell you what, we could even get rid of that if we wanted to. This way I'm not too confused. Save, deploy, there we go. So if we're taking in information, so if I just try to call this function from here, I'm like, yeah, it kind of worked. Actually, it didn't work at all. It says error right there. All right. So we have to give it some number here. What number do we want to multiply by 2? Let's say 100. We run it, and now we get back 200 from there, right? If we say, I don't know, 25. Now we get 50. If we wanted to square it, we'll say num1, and when we say something like square number, right? Cool. And get rid of the old one, and then I deploy the new one from here. If I wanted to square the number, 25 squared is 525, if I'm correct. No, 625, okay? But yeah, you can see how this would work from here. 9 squared is going to be 81, all right? So hopefully this helped you guys out a little bit here to understand functions, have them write them out a little bit better with Solidity. It's a very quick video here, but hopefully you guys learned something. One of the things I'm going to do in another video here is talk about these two keyboards from here, probably each one in a separate video. We'll talk about public versus private versus internal versus external. We'll also talk about pure versus view, okay? So if you guys are looking forward to that, be sure to subscribe. If you guys learned something in this video, be sure to give me a comment down below and give me a thumbs up. And if you guys really enjoy it, I do offer some courses on Udemy, although not on Solidity right now, okay? Hopefully that's coming in the future. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope you guys have a great day.